You're kicking us off. You're kicking us off. Thank you.
I'm sorry, is this mask on or off?
You can take it off. We're vaccinated. No,
That's it. Good morning. I want to welcome you all to Roosevelt High School. My name is Dan Kramer. I have been the principal here at Roosevelt for the past 4 years. It feels surreal to be addressing you all exactly 1 year after we closed the school building due to the pandemic. I know a lot of us thought we would be back in school in just a couple of weeks, and no one could predict how much our lives would be changing. Here at Roosevelt, our mission is to prepare every student for post-secondary success, and that can be summed up in 3 words: fulfill, challenge, and support. We've certainly had to go the extra mile this past year to stick to those values and to help our students succeed academically. When you're working at a difficult time like this as a school leader, it is also important to remember that creating a culture of support has to extend to every single person in our school community, students and adults. For my staff, I don't think there's a better support right now than giving them the opportunity to be vaccinated against COVID. We've been excited to partner with the district as one of the 4 vaccination sites. My staff members who have already been vaccinated here at Roosevelt have been greatly appreciative to appreciate the vaccine in such a familiar environment. We're thrilled that more of our staff members will be able to be vaccinated here today. We are also ready to open our doors to all CPS staff on our side of the city and beyond who need the vaccine. To any CPS staff member that's listening, please consider being vaccinated as soon as you can. The vaccination team has helped to create the vaccination site here at Roosevelt, has been extremely responsible. It has run wonderfully smoothly since we opened in February, and it's really given us the confidence that we'll be able to serve CPS staff in this important role. Our site is such a big step forward for all of us. It is certainly a step forward for the health of our staff and our community, but it is also a step in the right direction in terms of having our school and our city return to normalcy. We are very excited to be able to welcome our high school students back to Roosevelt soon. Like I said at the beginning, there are 3 words that are important to our school culture here at Roosevelt: fulfill, challenge, and support. And today I'd like to, on this 1-year anniversary of COVID, I'd like to add one more word, and that is to protect. There's no better way to protect your health and the health of you around and the health of those around you than by getting vaccinated. Please support our community. As a CPS employee, we are ready to welcome you here to Roosevelt to get your vaccine, and so I thank you. I'd like to turn things over now to my fantastic assistant principal, Natalia Torres, who will give the comments in Spanish.
Buenos días. Bienvenidos a la Escuela Secundaria Roosevelt. Soy Natalia Torres, la subdirectora. Se siente un poco surrealista dirigirme a ustedes hoy, exactamente 1 año después del cierre obligado por la pandemia. Hace 1 año pensábamos que regresaríamos pronto. Nadie podía predecir cuánto cambiarían nuestras vidas. Nuestra misión en la Escuela Roosevelt de preparar a los estudiantes para el éxito posterior ha requerido un gran esfuerzo adicional para mantener nuestros valores, cumplir, desafiar y apoyar los logros académicos. En tiempos difíciles, la importancia del liderazgo educativo radica en crear un sistema de apoyo que alcance a cada persona en la escuela. Tener la oportunidad de vacunarse contra el COVID es un buen apoyo para nuestro personal. Estamos entusiasmados de asociarnos con el distrito y ser uno de los 4 centros de vacunación. Estamos encantados de la oportunidad de recibir la vacuna en un entorno familiar que está disponible para todo nuestro personal. Estamos listos también para mantener nuestras puertas abiertas para el personal de todas las escuelas del distrito. A todos los miembros del sistema escolar de Chicago los invitamos a vacunarse pronto. Gracias al apoyo del equipo de vacunación del sistema escolar de Chicago, nuestra sede ha funcionado sin dificultades desde su apertura en febrero y confiamos en poder servir al personal escolar mientras sea necesario. Sin duda, este centro de vacunación constituye un paso adelante para la salud de nuestro personal y de nuestra comunidad. A cumplir, desafiar y apoyar, hoy, en el primer aniversario del impacto de COVID en nuestra escuela, queremos añadir la palabra proteger. Para proteger su salud y la de los que lo rodean, vacúnese. Proteger a su comunidad es apoyar a su comunidad. Si usted es un empleado del sistema escolar y necesita la vacuna, aquí en la Escuela Roosevelt estamos listos para recibirlo. Muchas gracias. Ahora, démosle la bienvenida a la directora de las Escuelas Públicas de Chicago, la doctora Jackson.
Thank you, AP Torres, for translating those remarks, and thank you, Principal Kramer, for your leadership during this time and for hosting us here today. I also want to acknowledge Chief Education Officer LaTanya McDay, who's joining me today, as well as Chief Health Officer Dr. Fox, as well as some of the other folks on the podium that you will hear from today. This is a solemn anniversary for Chicago Public Schools. It was exactly 1 year ago when the pandemic forced us to close our doors as a school system. But rather than look back on what it was, and it was definitely a lot, I want to focus on the work going forward, the work that is going to get us back to normal, and more importantly, the work that is focused on recovery for Chicago Public Schools. The COVID-19 vaccine is a huge tool in our toolkit in order to return to normalcy here in Chicago Public Schools, and we are grateful for the efforts from many to bring us here today. Our partnership with Innovative is one that has really strengthened our ability to respond by getting more and more of our employees vaccinated. We began this work by prioritizing our school-based staff that have been reporting into schools. We started looking at our security officers, nutrition support staff, our school administrators, all of whom have been working in our schools since the start of the pandemic. We expanded our efforts to include teachers, and I'm thrilled to report that as of today, we are announcing our vaccination program, but we have offered a vaccine to all Chicago Public Schools employees as well as vendors that work in our buildings. We have also arranged vaccination staff for our vaccination opportunities for our staff through external healthcare providers throughout the city. Our goal is to have each individual staff member vaccinated by the end of March. And in order to do that, I believe that we have to work together. Our schools will do their part by hosting sign-up drives and really encouraging colleagues to sign up to get the vaccine. So, Principal Kramer, I really thank you for the nudge that you gave in your remarks, because we really believe at this critical stage it's going to take that kind of one-on-one personalization to get the additional staff members that have yet to be vaccinated in a timely fashion. We also want to engage our students. They're going to play a major role in this. So I'm happy to announce that our students are going to be engaged in an interdisciplinary unit where they will learn about vaccinations as a whole. And we also want them to help spread the word in their families and their respective communities to encourage people to get the vaccine. Our goal is to continue to educate communities and to reduce vaccination hesitancy, and we think that this is an important step not only for meeting our goals here in Chicago Public Schools, but assisting the city at large with meeting our vaccination goals. Stopping this pandemic once and for all will require all of us to use every tool that we have at our disposal. This means wearing masks, washing our hands, keeping socially distant, and also getting a vaccine. I want to thank everyone who has played a role in helping us get to this point today. And I also want to acknowledge Jeff Lorenz, who's on the stage with us, who will be getting a vaccination shot today. He's a social studies teacher. I was a social studies teacher, so connection there. And he serves diverse learners here at Roosevelt High School and has agreed to get vaccinated today as a way to show people that it's okay and really encourage more of his colleagues across the city to take that necessary step. So at this time, I think you're going to share some remarks. Okay. We will have Mr. Lorenz come to the podium to share a few remarks. Thank you. I don't want to put you on the spot.
Thank you. Oh, well, I'm already on the spot.
All right.
Yeah. Good morning. My name is Jeff Lorenz. I'm a special education teacher here at Roosevelt. Not many people get to say they get vaccinated at the place they work. So I definitely am grateful for this opportunity. Thank Dr. Kramer and the district for getting together and putting this site, getting this site running. I strongly encourage all CPS employees to get vaccinated at one of the district sites. This is an opportunity for us. It's just for us, and I think we should take advantage of it so that we can get back to what we need to do, which is teach and support kids. You might think that one person might not make a difference, or one person not getting a vaccine may not make a difference, but I'm doing my part, and I definitely think that we should all do our part, and maybe encourage a friend or colleague to go and get vaccinated. Like I said, I'm happy for the district to give me this opportunity and supporting us to get vaccinated here.
Thank you for being here today.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Doc-
Hello, I'm Dr. Rahul Kare. I'm the founder of Innovative Care, and most importantly, a proud parent of 3 children who have gone through and attended CPS. Innovative Express Care has been on the forefront of COVID-19 pandemic in Chicago. We have administered more than 300,000 COVID-19 tests and have given over 30,000 COVID-19 vaccines. I am incredibly proud to work with CPS on this vaccination effort. Vaccinating teachers and staff so we can safely return to school and get our children back to the classroom is critical. I have 3 children. We have been a CPS family for over a decade. As both a healthcare provider and a parent, I truly understand the challenges that the past year has presented to our community. This is why I'm happy to be standing here today. Each and every vaccination gets us one step closer to controlling COVID-19 so we can put this pandemic behind us and return to the community of laughing, hugging, and being together once again. CPS is working so hard to get all staff vaccinated as quickly as possible. Innovative Express Care will stand behind them until this goal is reached. We will continue to open appointments at our school sites for CPS employees, and we encourage all CPS staff to get vaccinated. 1 year ago, we shut down, Illinois and Chicago shut down all the schools. I remember my children, all 3 of them, telling us that, and me telling them, we're not sure when you're going back again, probably a couple weeks. I remember that very well. There was so much fear, confusion, and us glued to the television. And here we are today. There's so much hope. So today, let's celebrate science. Let's celebrate the potential of gatherings and laughter and joy. And let's get vaccinated. And so please encourage everyone you can, especially the CPS staff and teachers, to get vaccinated. They have the opportunity, and Innovative Express Care is really happy to be a part of that. Thank you.
All right. Before we open it up for questions, I do want to thank our Chief Health Officer, who has been doing, amazing work throughout this process. He probably has the most stressful job in Chicago Public Schools. He's also the only person who gets to tell me what to do, which one day he'll probably tell you all stories about that. But thank you, Dr. Fox, as well as the team, the project manager, Lauren Feldman, and others who have worked extremely hard. This truly is a success and a bright spot in what has been a long year. And so I want to thank you all for your efforts. I would let you give some remarks, but there's no telling what you might say. So we'll save that in case you guys have questions for Dr. Fox. And right now, I'll open it up for questions. Yes, Dana.
CTU President Jesse Sharkey sent a letter to its members saying, do not respond to CPS's vaccination survey. He wants it to be bargained. I noticed today the number of teachers and CTU members is a total who've received vaccines is just over 3,000. So, A, are you concerned that that number is so low, and can you talk about how you feel about, at this point still, CTU apparently saying, hold off members, don't answer this survey?
Yeah, well, you know, we think it's really important that we have that information, and so I would be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed at some of the, you know, tactics that are being used. You just heard a principal and a teacher talk about the importance of getting this. Once we reopen schools, it's going to be critically important that we provide publicly, you know, the percent of people that are vaccinated in the schools. Parents are going to want to know that, and eventually we're going to be asking families to provide that information. And so my only message here is that we have to be role models. The adults have to disclose that information, because we're going to be asking students to disclose that information once the vaccine is available for young people. It makes our work more challenging. However, about 41% of CPS staff and vendors have completed the survey, and we believe that that number is going to continue to increase. Events like today are geared towards, you know, getting that type of completion. But one thing that I've heard from parents throughout this process that I am taking heed to is that people don't want to hear the back and forth and the antics and the theatrics. They want us to get the job done. And this team has gotten the job done with regard to vaccinations. We've offered a vaccine to every single employee in Chicago public schools. And now we're in this second cycle where those who haven't been vaccinated, we really want to provide more education and encouragement to get them vaccinated. So that's my focus.
Can I just have a follow-up? So if you said 40% of CTU members
41% of our employees.
or of your employees,
Because this is about everybody that's in the building, talking to our kids, interacting with our kids.
okay, then my follow-up isn't applicable.
Okay, thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about the email that you guys sent yesterday, where negotiations are over high school with the CTU and
Yeah.
some of the tension that seemed to arise overnight?
Yeah, we sent a letter yesterday because one of the things that we heard last week in our town hall is that parents need more information. And so we're asking them to complete that opt-in form, and we wanted to give them more, visibility into what school is going to look like for their children. So yesterday we announced a potential date, a start date, which is the beginning of the fourth quarter, April 19th. We talked about the fact that we are right now talking about a hybrid, not a full 5 days, which is something that, people have asked about and advocated for. We feel strongly that this phased-in process has worked, and we're going to continue to do that. And then we also wanted people to know that it is a collaborative process. There is a different tone and tenor than it was during the first set of negotiations around this, and I think I hope that that's comforting to parents. We hope to share models of what school might look like by the end of this week, again, to give our parents and community, and as well as our teachers, more visibility into what school is going to look like and what those expectations are going to be. With regard to the tension, I was confused by that. We shared the letter that we sent out to parents with Jesse Sharkey personally. He provided edits to the letter, and so I was confused with the back and forth. But as I stated earlier, I'm committed to not engaging in any performative acts that distract us from doing what's important, which is getting our kids back in school. As a parent myself, that's all people care about, and so that's all I'm going to focus on.
Well, can I ask you, the letter that Sharkey, or the response of Sharkey, certainly doesn't sound like it was collaborative. He goes out of his way to say that your decisions were unilateral. Are you saying he actually saw that
Yes.
letter?
Yes, and provided written edits about the letter.
So how do you characterize,
You
why
have
do you
to
think
ask
he
him
is?
that. I can't speak for him. I'm just stating facts and happy to provide documentation for those facts.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Jackson, accommodations were a really big part of the tensions in the last negotiations. Is what CPS is willing to provide, or how the district is thinking about accommodations? How has that changed in light of the vaccination availability?
Yeah, I think that we've made a lot of progress there. Of course, it was a complicated process. I think our talent team has been really responsive. I feel like we're in a really good place now where the individuals that are receiving accommodations need those accommodations. They've provided that information. The district feels comfortable with that. There are some accommodations that are based on vaccination availability. And so in the case where we have offered multiple opportunities for a vaccination, not just one, we are going to be revisiting those and making determinations. I can speak for building principals. Staffing is something that we've worked extremely hard on. I think we're in a good place, but in order to continue to execute our plan, we obviously need all of our staff to the maximum extent possible within our schools. And so that continues to be, I would say, the second biggest priority after safety, making sure that we have adequate staffing. And in order to do that, we had to make sure people received opportunities to take the vaccine, which is something that CTU bargained, strongly for. We've made good on that. We've offered multiple opportunities. The expectation is that those accommodations, if they were based on that people will be returning to work, and we'll be notifying those employees on an individualized basis based on their specific accommodations.
Dr. Jackson, the school year is sort of coming close to an end. You're entering the fourth quarter next month. If you do meet the April 19th date, there's about 18 school days that students will be in classrooms for. If planning does drag on longer than that, what benefit is there of getting kids back in for those limited days? Would it be for getting students back accustomed to being in classrooms, getting people involved for next year, looking ahead? What would be the benefit?
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, I feel confident that we're going to meet that date given the way that conversations have been going. And I really want to applaud the people that have been at the table. We're talking about teachers and principals who are giving up their time to do this work, and it's grueling and frustrating at times. So I think we're going to meet that date. But I'll just use like a response to a tweet that I got from a student today, which is that I'm struggling right now. I'm coming back to school. I think I'm speaking to students like that. They don't care if we open on April 19th or May 1st. They want the help. Our teachers, our principals, staff in the schools are ready to help. And so the day that I can open schools and offer that opportunity to high school students, we're going to do that. I do think that it serves a purpose from our overarching goal, which is to at some point return to normalcy. And I think that once people come into the building, see the protective measures that we have in place, people start to feel more comfortable coming back to work. And I think some of that does need to occur at the high school level. We've seen some success and positivity at the elementary level with that because people have been back in school for a couple of weeks now, a month for some. So I'm hoping that we can do that as well in the high schools. And I think that will increase people's confidence in our plan and eventually put us on the path to quickly reopen with, all of our kids having the ability to come back and all of our staff.
It's been 2 weeks and we still don't have student attendance data. I'm wondering when we're going to get that for the kids that already started. And also, I just wanted you guys to talk a little bit about how hybrid simultaneous teaching is going. I hear from a lot of teachers that it's very frustrating. They don't feel like they're serving either the kids at home or in person very well, that, it's just not easy.
As far as attendance, I will have to get back to you on that. I didn't know you didn't have that attendance, so I don't want to just make up something. I'll get back to you. As far as hybrid, we're continuing to, focus on supporting our students and teachers. We are actually in the process of administering a survey that will go directly to our high school students, and they will have an opportunity to tell us, more about what their remote experience has been like, what they're looking forward to or worried about as we return to school. And so we're going to continue to use data sets like that from both our teachers as well as our principals and our parents who are participating in the town halls to really understand that. But look, right in this environment in the pandemic, hybrid teaching is the dominant model across the country. Everyone, even if they're if they're back in school, some kids are getting remote instruction, so you have to do both. We're learning, the teaching and learning department has offered thousands of hours of professional development, and a lot of our teachers have taken advantage of that. So we'll continue to support them. But again, I've said this time and time again, this is not ideal, which is why my goal is to get all students and all staff back into school when it's safe to do so.
Principals and Administrators Association shared a survey that said that their count is that about a third of students are learning in some form remotely, even if they're in person. Do you think that that is an accurate number, and do you have a response to just to that finding?
Yeah, I can't respond to the finding because I have zero visibility into the survey. So I don't know how it was administered or who was surveyed, et cetera. But what I will say is that, again, hybrid learning, with our kids coming back, it's a process. And there are some places, just like with remote learning, where it's working extremely well, and that's due to planning and, maybe staffing is proper, and they have, teachers who can balance both. And then there are places where we have to provide more support in order for people to be successful. So I can't give a blanket statement on how it's going, but what I will say is that it's not ideal in the sense, it's not a match to in-person instruction, which is why we're working so hard to return to that every day for all of our students when we think it's safe to do so.
Dr. Jackson, you've talked about the idea of learning loss and sort of making up or helping students going forward after what they've been through this past year. Chicago CPS is getting $1.9 billion from the federal government, and you've said some of that money is going to help some initiatives. What do those look like? Is it expanded summer school programs? Is it different types of curriculum in the fall? What exactly are you doing to support students?
Yeah, I'm going to let Chief McDay highlight a little bit around the unfinished learning, but what I'll say in general is that, there is a provision that 20% of that money has to be spent on unfinished learning or learning loss, and we intend to do that, possibly exceed that with the way we're thinking about supporting our students. And I'll let Chief McDay talk a little bit about how we've been thinking about unfinished learning and our engagement with stakeholders ahead of releasing our plan.
Good morning. So some of the things that you mentioned absolutely will be a part of the plan, and we're working right now to develop that and release a plan, but we also want to make sure that we're engaging our educators and leaders in the building. Some of the things that are critically important that you'll see is around social emotional learning, making sure that we have wraparound supports and services for students that are returning to the building, because we know that students have experienced a lot. There's been trauma, and so we have to make sure that we're addressing that. Summer programming you just mentioned, extending summer programming options, making sure that we have an expansive offering of summer programming that goes above and beyond what we typically would offer in a traditional year. Looking at transition supports, those students that are in the transition grades. Think about students who have never, ninth graders who have not stepped foot in a building, and even coming back fourth quarter, they haven't been in the building for quite some time, and our seniors that haven't been in the building that are now going on to college. So looking at transition supports. And then also we will be releasing our curriculum equity initiative, and so we will have culturally responsive curriculum that is completely digital. So looking at the supports and resources that we can provide to make sure that we're not focused on a deficit model, but accelerating learning for all students. And then we all know the research around tutoring, one-to-one tutoring and mentoring. So those are some other things that we'll be looking at for unfinished learning. Those are a couple of highlights. We'll have a comprehensive plan that we'll be able to release publicly, but those are some of the things that you'll see that will show up in the unfinished learning plan.
I'm going to do one more question.
Can you tell us a little bit about how many intent to return forms you guys are getting back? Are you seeing more kids or parents saying that they're going to bring their kids for fourth quarter? And what's going on to make sure that we don't have, some schools where only half of the people replied to the intent to return form?
Yep, that process is underway, so I don't want to start talking about what it is, but I think I do appreciate the question because it's an opportunity to really encourage parents to fill that form out. I do know anecdotally that more parents are signing up at the elementary school level for fourth quarter, which is encouraging. Once that survey closes, we will absolutely put that data out and especially share with our school leaders because they need it in order to adequately plan. We are pushing out more efforts. Our family and community engagement team is making phone calls right now to high school families because that's our focus because it's a new group. And then we sent a letter, I think the letter yesterday referenced the opt-out form, and we're also trying to encourage principals to do more direct outreach. Right now they don't have visibility into who has completed it and who hasn't completed it in their schools, but we're asking them just to do blanket emails encouraging folks to fill out the form. So more on that as the survey concludes this week, but we do encourage folks to complete that form. It's sent directly to you. If you did not receive an email or a text message, I encourage you to reach out to your child's teacher or the building principal. Okay? All right.
Roseanne, yeah, slide over.